Over the years, there's been a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh archetypes which have been released for the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Some budget, some medium, some expensive, and some just ludicrous. But the question is, which deck profile is my favourite to use? So in today's video, that's what I'm going to be counting down. I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favourite Yu-Gi-Oh deck profiles. So there was certainly a lot to choose from. Going back over the list, I have made a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh deck profiles actually, more than which I even realised. So this list wasn't actually the easiest to make. I think the top 3 or 4 was pretty much a lock, but there was a lot to choose from. So yeah, it was actually a bit of a tough list to make. But anyway, so this is the list I've come up with. So now let's count down the list and see what is what. Kicking us off at number 10, we have Naturias. So with Naturias, this is actually the youngest deck which I've built. When it comes down to Naturias, I've been tempted to build Naturias for a couple of years, but when I kept looking back at the price of some of the cards, they were a bit expensive. Specifically, Bamboo Shoot and Naturia Cherries. Naturia Cherries especially, if you wanted one of those, you'd have to pay top dollar. But fortunately, thanks to the Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1 we got at the start of the year, Naturias were pretty much a budget deck. Pretty much everything was in there, with the exception of, I think, Gaia Stiro. I think that's the only one that wasn't printed in that set, if I'm correct. But yes, other than that, pretty much everything was printed. And we also, this summer, got some new support in the form of Carmelia and also Mole Cricket. Mole Cricket in particular is excellent Naturia. And also Spring Breeze. So with Naturia, it is pretty easy to spam the field with Naturias. And as a result, it's pretty easy to get a good amount of synchros. Also, because it's easy to spam the field with synchros, you do also have the option of going for the fusions. So yes, and thanks to Spring Breeze, it makes it a lot easier to do that as well. Because with this card, you can either special summon the Naturia from a hand or graveyard, then immediately after this effect results, special summon one synchro monster using fusion monsters you control as material, and then you could potentially fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as material. So yes, there's is it the most competitive deck? No. Is it a fun one to use? Yes. And that's why it's number 10 on this list. Also, this, going back to it, this is a Hidden Arsenal archetype, and you may see that a lot in this list, admittedly. Yes, just wanted to mention that. But yes, so Naturia's fun to play, and that's why it's number 10 on this list. Number 9, Mecha Phantom Beasts. So with this one has a little bit of a backstory behind it. So back in the day when I was first getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh, I think in 2013, something like that, and I was looking for deck profiles to make, this was actually one of the first which I out and out built. This was back in the day when I was really fascinated with transport, so having a plane-based archetype was appealing to me. Also, in fairness, you don't really see too many token-based archetypes around. So that's another factor. And actually back in the day, it's a fun little fact, back when I was first building this, Hamstrat at the time was the most amount I ever paid for a Yu-Gi-Oh card at the time. It was actually quite valuable back when it was first printed. But yes, so the way it works is basically you can special summon a load of tokens like Hamstrat. When it's flipped face up, you can special summon 2 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens. So these cards, most of them, they increase their levels based on the amount of tokens. So that's crucial if you want to go for the high level exceeds. Most of the time I end up going for level rank 7s, so that's why you've got number 11 and Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Sack. But there is also synchro options as well, because you do have a couple of Mecha Phantom Beast synchros, including this one, which is based off Concord. So yeah, so they do have a tuner, so you can go for synchros if needed. Admittedly, the deck profile you're looking at hasn't been updated in a couple of years, so it will probably get a proper rebuild in the future, I suspect, if they ever make new support. There is a good amount of variety when it comes down to Mecha Phantom Beast. you've got a Harrier, you've got helicopters, you've got I can't remember if that might be a Mustang, maybe the plane. I can't remember, but there's quite a few planes designed similar to that. You even got an airship. There's the SR-71 Blackbird. And then you have O-Line. O-Line is currently banned at the moment of recording this video, I believe. But yeah, that was definitely a pretty powerful card as well for the plays. Also, this is a random one, but I'm also running a Light and Darkness Dragon because with this one, this basically negates any trap that's played with 500, but it loses 500 attack and defense. So if you need attack option later on, this actually kind of can help a bit of a stall card. But like I said, this deck profile does need a bit of a rebuild, but I do enjoy using it, and that's why it's number 9 on this list. Number 8, Dragon Maids. So with this one, this is the youngest archetype on the list, but I do find the mechanic quite interesting actually. So the way it works is you've got level 4 to level 2 variants of Dragon Maids, and then you've got basically dragon versions of them, all level. So some level 8, some level 7. Actually, come to think about it, do we have a level 8 dragon yet? No, we don't actually. Oh yeah, and that's the new artwork as well. Yeah, so at the moment of recording this video, we don't actually have a level 8 dragon for Chamber Dragon Maid. But yes, some of these cards, so the way they work is Kitchen is basically a searcher from the deck. So you can send one Dragon Maid monster from your deck to your hand. Except then you can send one Dragon Maid from your deck to the graveyard. At the start of the battle phase, you can turn. Most of these, by the way, will have this similar effect. At the start of the battle phase, you can return this card to the hand, and if you do, special summon one level 8 Dragon Maid monster from your hand or graveyard. So it's a good way to recycle some of the high level dragons, and that's why you actually don't need too many in the deck. So the lower ones will also do will have level 7 as well. So like Laundry and Nurse. So yes. But the real reason I like this deck is because of the fusions. So there are 2 Dragon Maid fusions in particular. Yugioh might be how you pronounce it, and also House Dragon Maid. So these 2 work very well in tandem. Actually, I don't know why I don't have 3 of those. Just saying. So most of the time, I think you would go for this one, because during each standby phase, you can special summon one level 9 or lower Dragon Maid monster from your hand to or graveyard. When your opponent activates a card or quick effect, you can negate the activation if you do destroy the card. Also, after that, return this card to the extra deck, and if you do, special summon one House Dragon Maid from your extra deck. That's probably why I only run 2, it's because of that second effect. So when you use that quick effect, you will special summon a House Dragon Maid instead. And this one is, you can target one other Dragon Maid monster you control, special summon one Dragon Maid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, whose level is 1 higher or lower than it. When another face-up dragon monster you control returns to the hand, except during the damage step, you can target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it. So it's probably one of my favourite combinations of fusions, fusion-specific monsters. And yes, is it the most consistent of decks? My build, probably not, I admit, but I do have good fun playing it. So that's why it's number 8 on this list. Number 7, Gustos. So this is another archetype which I've had in my possession for quite a while. And yeah, it's due to a combination of, this was one archetype which caught my attention back when I was first getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And also I like the way that it can easily go for synchros. Well, I say easily go for synchros. It takes a little bit of planning, I guess you could say. So most of the lower level Gustos' effects is when it's destroyed by battle, you can normally special summon another Gusto or field to the graveyard. So that seems to be a common thing with most of the lower level Gustos. So at least you keep some Gustos out. Fortunately, some of the newer ones have made it much easier to special summon random cards. So, such as this one, Gusto Vifa? I don't know. So this one is, if a face-up Gusto monster on the field is controlled by battle or sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal special summoned, you can send one Gusto monster from your deck to the graveyard. And then you can special summon one Gusto monster from your hand. So this one definitely helps with speeding up the deck, along with Pelika, Descendant of Gusto as well. So those two cards in recent years have definitely sped up the deck, along with Gusto Tailwind. So yeah, those cards have made it a lot easier, definitely a lot easier to play Gustos than when it first came out. And also, there's a good amount of variety when it comes to the Synchros as well, because you've got Synchros all the way from level 2, going all the way up to level 7. So like you've got Falcos, Goldus, not going to pronounce that, Sfreeze, and Eagles. And you can also go for some level 8s as well in the odd chance, so that's why I've got one Stardust. And you also... actually, that would be one good thing if Gustos had a link. Maybe in the future, but never say never. The one card which admittedly is missing from this list, because, yeah, the one card which maybe I should add is Phoenix and Emerald. The funny thing is, I don't actually have a Gyzosto Phoenix, so if I did, I would have a Gyzosto Phoenix. Maybe when they make Hidden Arsenal Season 2, maybe they might reprint that. Because, yeah, I don't think that's ever had a reprint, so that'll be good to have. But yes, it's a nice Synchro deck to play. It's one of the oldest decks I have, and that's why it's number 7 on this list. Number 6, the Egyptian God cards. So I say specifically Egyptian God cards because, admittedly, my deck is definitely not the most powerful Egyptian God card deck there is. Plainly because it uses a combination of all three, whereas a lot of the new support contains support. Whereas most of the support contains stuff for the individual ones. So let me explain why. So if we're looking at it, if we're looking at the God card deck profile I've got, I think this is mostly specifically a Winged Dragon of Ra variant, because you've got cards like Ancient Chant, the True Sun God, Millennium Revolution, and Blaze Cannon. So I'd say at a core, this is more of a Winged Dragon of Ra deck, because the new support they introduced in the last couple of years does help make Winged Dragon of Ra an actually playable God card. But there is a couple of other cards as well, such as one of the Revived Sun God and Thunder Force Attack, one Fist of Fate, and Breaking Ruined Ground for Obelisk, and then Soul Crossing. The thing with Soul Crossing is this one is actually fortunately a generic one, so you can use it with any of the God cards. So it's just a nice way to get it out. Also, they've the kind of the slime-based build as well, so Guardian Slime, Reactor Slime, and also throwing in some random cards like Crystal Girl does help out. And of course you've got Ra's Disciple. So for me, this is not the most competitive deck. I'm not even going to argue with that. But for me, it's one of the most fun to play. And also, they have the Fusion Egyptian God Slime, which is definitely a good amount of fun. And with this one, this gives you a way to use this as a tribute for a God card. So you use one Aqua and one level 10 monster, so they'll basically be like Reactor Slime and Guardian Slime, so you can fuse it into that. Then you contribute this for a God card. So there's a couple of options you can go with. Like I said, is it going to win tournaments? No. But is it fun to play? Yes. That's why it's number 6 on this list. Number 5, Dark Magician. So when it comes down to arguably the most expensive deck profile, Dark Magician probably will take the top spot on this list. Because with Dark Magician, you've got a lot of highly valuable cards, such as Illusion of Chaos from earlier this year, Magician's Souls, which is always worth a good amount, Soul Servant, then you've got Timaeus the Dragon of Destiny, Illusion the Princess Magician, then you obviously got Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, the Dark Magicians. So when it comes to most valuable deck profile or most expensive deck profile, I'd say this is probably number 1 on the list. But this isn't a list of what is most expensive. This is a list of what is my favourite. And when it comes to Dark Magician, there is a good amount of variety. I prefer more the fusion-based route. Some people prefer more the ritual or the synchro, or actually, does Dark Magician? I'm not sure Dark Magician has a synchro as of yet. But for me, I always like going for the rituals side, the fusions, and I have a couple of Illusion of Chaos in as well. Well, not in real life because that's quite expensive at the moment. But yes, this card is a very good searcher because it can be you can reveal this card from your hand, then you can add one Dark Magician or non-ritual monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand, then place one card from your hand on top of the deck. When your opponent activates a monster, quick effect, you can return this card to the hand, and if you do, special summon one Dark Magician from the graveyard, and if you do, negate that activated effect. So yes, it's a searcher and a negation card, and also a way to special summon Dark Magician, which in this deck is kind of key, because Dark Magician and also Dark Magician Girl, you're going to be going for a lot of fusions. Obviously, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is probably one of the most powerful fusions ever made. So you fuse Dark Magician and Timaeus. The Dark Magicians, you can use that with either Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl with one of the other spellcasters like Chocolate or Illusionist. There's a lot of support cards as well, so you can there's support cards so you can like special summon Dark Magician Girl while Dark Magician's on the field. Soul Servant is obviously a searcher. Dark Magical Circle helps with getting what you need, and also you have Eternal Soul, which is another way to special summon Dark Magician. So I will admit there has been one or two inconsistent hands in the past, so maybe that might be something to look at. But when everything comes together, this is a very strong deck, and that's why it's number 5 on this list. Number 4, Elemental Heroes, or technically I should say Elemental Heroes, Masked Heroes, and Neos. So the reason I've technically grouped all 3 of these up in one entry is because they kind of have similar tendencies. So first off, they obviously all use Elemental Heroes in the main fusions. They use certain spell cards like obviously Miracle Fusion, Polymerization, that type of stuff. But for me, if I had to pick one of the 3, I'd probably go with Masked Heroes. So Masked Heroes, they do use an Elemental Hero, a bit of an Elemental Hero engine. Well, actually, I should say they pretty much are Elemental Heroes, but the main difference is it's fusions. So the majority of the fusions won't be like the usual fusions. There will be Masked Heroes. So Masked Heroes is something that was in the manga but never in the anime. So there's quite a good variety of Masked Heroes. So you've got like Darklaw, Vapor, Koga, Acid, Divine Wind, and you've got Diane. So basically, with Masked Heroes, you can... So yeah, the way Masked Heroes work is you can target a hero or monster, send it to the graveyard, and based on its effect, so based on its attribute, you can then fusion summon one of the Masked Hero elements. So like with Avion, it would be Divine Wind. With Shadow Mist, it would be Darklaw, which I think overall is the best one. But I am running some generic Elemental Heroes as well, such as Great Tornado, The Shining, Escarado, Absolute Zero, and also Sunrise, and also Gaia as well, because there is a Grand Mole in there. So yes, with this it's quite easy to spam the fields with fusions, and yeah. Also, when it comes down to Neos, kind of a similar story. You can also spam the field with fusions if you get it right, and obviously Elemental Heroes is some of the classics. So yes, but like I said, I think personally Masked Hero is my favourite of the 3, so that's why it's made it to number 4 on this list. Number 3, Dragonities. So for me, this is my favourite synchro based deck which I use. With Dragonities, it's just so easy to go for so many synchros in one turn, thanks to a combination of monsters and spells. So some of the spells in particular includes Dragonity Glow, where you can add a level 5 Dragonity monster from your deck to the hand. Then you can banish this card, then target one monster card in your spell and trap, equipped to a Dragonity monster special summon in defense position. So that works well with quite a few of the Dragonities because they do act as equip cards, such as Course, Phalanx. Phalanx, one of the more infamous ones. Remus, I think that's how you pronounce it. Then you've got a Misthalin. Then you've got Armogram, Legagus, Senatus, and Dux. And also one of those as well, but I can't pronounce the name. So yes, yeah, with Dragonities, it's just very easy to just keep spamming the field with Dragonities, and as a result, keep spamming the field with Synchros, such as Vajrayana. Then you got Ared Beher, if I know that. Asalon, Loon, and yeah, and also, of course, they do also have a Link monster, Romulus, as well. So yes, with Dragonities, there is a good amount of options you can go for. Just keep spamming the field with Synchros, and yeah, for me, that's why it's my third favourite deck. Number 2, Gem Knights. So for me, this is my favourite fusion-based archetype that I currently have built. With this deck, it's very easy to spam the fields with multiple Gem Knights in one turn, thanks to a combination of the spell cards and monster abilities. So some of the monster abilities in question is like Gem Knight Obsidian, where like if it's sent from the hand to the graveyard, you can target one level 4 or lower normal monster in the graveyard, special summon it. So most of the time you go for Tourmaline or Lapis, or if you're running different variants, you could go for Garnet, which is what I used to do actually back in the day before the new support came in earlier this year. Then you got Gem Armadillo, where you can add a Gem Knight to your hand when this is normal summoned. Quartz, so if your opponent controls a monster, you can discard this card. Set one Fusion Continuous Spell, so that works well with Scatter Fusion, and yeah, that works with Scatter Fusion. Then you've got probably one of the best fusion cards in the game, Gem Knight Fusion. So with this one, you can fusion summon a Gem Knight monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or your side of the field as fusion materials. If this card is in the graveyard, you can banish one Gem Knight monster from your graveyard, add this card to your hand. So it's a way to... So this card can quickly be recycled, and yeah, so you can just keep spamming the field with Gem Knights if you've got a lot of Gem Knights on the field or in the graveyard, which isn't too difficult. Also, there's a good amount of fusion variety as well. You've got Master Diamond, Zarconia, Lady Rose Diamond, Prismara, Citrine, Lady Lapis Lazuli, and there's a couple of other Gem Knight fusions as well, such as Lady Brilliant Diamond, Amethyst, Ruby, Topaz, and Aquamarine. So yes, for me, it's my favourite fusion deck to use, and also as a archetype as a whole, it has some of my favourite artwork as well, especially with the fusions. So yes, I always like using it, and this is why it's number 2 on this list. Number 1, the Blue Eyes White Dragon archetype, or to be more specific, the Blue Eyes White Dragon ritual based deck. So if I ever do any offline testing with new deck profiles, this is the one I usually pit it up against, because with this one, the consistency is excellent. So the Blue Eyes White Dragon archetype has many different forms. Obviously, you've got fusions, you've got exceeds, so you've got fusions, you've got synchros, and I believe there's a not tournament legal exceed as well. But for me, my favourite variant is the ritual archetype. So having Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon and Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon are two very powerful cards, and they can be ritual summoned very easily because there is a lot of level 8 targets in the Blue Eyes White Dragon archetype. Obviously, you've got Blue Eyes White Dragon, Alternative Dragon, Jet Dragon, Deep of Blue Eyes, which also works with the ritual archetype, and you can also use like Marjorie of the 10,000 Hands as well for search power. Then you've got support cards such as the Tyrant of D, Mystical Elf, the White Stone of Ancients, and obviously Sage Reviser Blue. And yeah, there's also a good amount of spell card support for Blue Eyes. You've got Bingo Machine Go, True Light, Silver's Cry, even though it's technically not just a Blue Eyes card, but it's very handy in this deck. Ultimate Fusion, so that makes going for like Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon a lot easier now. You've also got other generic cards such as Aspiration of White, sorry, Aspiration with Eyes of Blue, and there's so many cards for Blue Eyes. So there's so many different versions of Blue Eyes that you can make. You can make a fusion deck, a ritual deck, a synchro deck, and yeah, and also Blue Eyes is one of the most iconic monsters ever made, and it's just really good fun. Yeah, it's just really good fun using the Blue Eyes deck as a properly decent deck. So yes, that's why for me it's number 1 on this list.